Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Octavia Prosper. In the headlines, Mrs. Silvani Burton to be sworn in as president on October 1st. Dominica joins China in celebrating its 74th founding anniversary. And gun amnesty takes effect for Dominica. The details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. President-elect Mrs. Silvani Burton will be sworn in as Dominica's 10th president at a ceremony to take place at the State House on Monday, October 1, 2023. His Excellency President Charles A. Savre, who served for 2 terms, will hand over the duties of the office of President to Mrs. Burton during the solemn ceremony. Upon taking the oath of office, Mrs. Burton will make history as the first female and Kalinago to be elevated to the highest office in the land as Dominica's head of state. In attendance will be Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit and Mrs. Skerrit, members of Cabinet and Parliament, as well as members of the Diplomatic Corps and other government officials. The swearing-in ceremony is scheduled for 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Dominica anticipates the swearing of the first female head of state, Mrs. Silvani Burton, on Monday. The ascension to the highest office in the land by the Kalinago is a historic event. Mrs. Burton amassed 20 votes in Parliament this week, while the opposition's nominee, also of the Kalinago territory, Mrs. Annette Stanford, obtained 5 votes. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit and other members of Parliament expressed messages of congratulations to Mrs. Burton, who is set to replace His Excellency President Charles Savre.
Mr. Speaker, the election of Mrs. Silvani Burton to the office of President of Dominica should have really been an opportunity for us to rally around one candidate and show the world that on some things there can be unity of purpose. There should really not have been any reason for there not to have been one candidate. But be as it may, that's a democratic process, and everybody has a right to determine how they do things and when they do things. That nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, it has not robbed the country of making history. It has not robbed women of an opportunity to be grateful and that a woman, in the first time in the history of our country, has been recognized to this and elevated to this high office. And it will not rob the Kalinago people, the first peoples of our country, of an opportunity that was lost in terms of the process, but not the outcome, of having the first Kalinago person elected to the highest office in our country.
The Prime Minister says history will not look kindly upon those who failed to support the Kalinago people in this achievement. He believes every woman should celebrate Mrs. Burton's achievement.
Not a woman of any pedigree, as we would say, but someone who has come from very, very challenging and humble beginnings. I believe by this act of the Parliament, we have shattered all semblance of remnants of classism in Dominica. And for me personally, I feel a bit emotional and I feel very humbled to be the leader of the country at the time this is happening. But this is not the first occurrence of us recognizing ordinary folks and elevating them to the highest office.
The Prime Minister appealed to young people who are going through challenging circumstances not to allow their future to be determined by their challenges.
I want to congratulate Mrs. Burton, to thank her family for agreeing for her to serve, and to congratulate not only the indigenous people of Dominica, but indigenous people all over the world. And not too long ago, not too long ago in Dominica, Mr. Speaker, we must speak the truth, not too long ago, the Kanago people were looked down upon in our country. People used to say that they could win the votes in the Kanago territory with rum and conkers. Not with development, not with improving their lives. But today, the Kanago people are among the most enlightened in our community.
The Kalinago people have reason to be proud of Mrs. Burton's attainment of being elected to serve the country at the highest level.
Celebrating women and celebrating Kalinago is important. And within the course of Dominica's history, we have seen rightly so that there's been the marriage of our heritage, both on the African descent and also Kalinago descent, to create what we now know as a Creole culture. So when the proclamation came with the sitting parliamentarians on our side, seeking to bring to the fore the importance of indigenous people and women, we were delighted. We were happy. Around the world, people celebrated that, knowing that people who have been oppressed through a colonial system were able to come out and to be highlighted by those in power.
Honorable Frederick acknowledges that it was during the tenure of Prime Minister Skerrit that attention on the upliftment of the Kalinago intensified.
That is why it was easy for the cabinet, and on this side here, and the senators on this side here, the parliamentarians on this side, to easily acknowledge the wonderful work of that person who came out of the bowels of a community that has developed and made great strides. And I just say, across the Kanago space, there are many people who have made major achievements. And Mrs. Burton is one of those who would have come out of that area and produce across the spectrum something that appeals to the normal, fair-minded individual.
Members of Parliament have expressed gratitude to President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles A. Savre, for his years of service to Dominica. President Savre, who has served 2 terms in Dominica's highest office, will demit office on October 1st, making way for President-elect Mr. Silvani Burton. His Excellency Savre has served Dominica for many years in the public service, beginning as a school teacher and ending as president, serving as a minister and ambassador in between. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit thanked the ongoing president for his contribution to Dominica and the Caribbean by extension.
I wish to place on record in the hands of the House my deep appreciation to His Excellency Charles Savre, our president who has served us in the office of president for 10 years and who shall demit office at midnight on October 1. There's no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that His Excellency is a tower of a person in stature, physical stature, in intellect, and in his contribution to Dominica's development spanning several decades. He is one of the great Dominicans who stayed here in Dominica and made his contribution through various fields of endeavor.
He says despite personal views, no citizen can deny the contribution that President Savre has made to the country.
We can have different views and different perspectives of him, but I do not believe that anyone in Dominica can deny him of his contribution, his sterling contributions to Dominica over several decades. He was a minister of government, a member of parliament, and I had the distinct privilege as a young parliamentarian to have worked with His Excellency in the cabinet of 2000 and beyond. And he would always provide sound, reasoned, and sincere advice on matters which are before us. He will not be someone who will keep his views and not make his views known.
Prime Minister Skerrit added that the history of Dominica will remember the president in a positive light.
But at the end of the day, which is a very important characteristic that one must have in public office, at the end of the day, when a decision is made, it became his. And he owned it as if he was the originator of the submission. And so while he demits office as president, I believe that we owe him a debt of gratitude, a debt of appreciation for his contribution. He worked in many spheres as a diplomat, ambassador of the OECS, not only of Dominica, but the entire OECS countries in Brussels for several years, a senator and member of parliament, minister. He served in the trade union, he served as a school teacher. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that history will record His Excellency's contribution in a very positive and constructive light.
Attorney General Honorable Levi Peter thanked President Savre for his service to Dominica over the years.
Firstly, to extend congratulations and appreciation to the outgoing President, His Excellency Charles Angelo Savre, who has served or is about to come to the end of serving 2 terms. As we all know, he has served for many, many years the public and Dominica as a whole in various capacities. And so, both to himself and to his wife, I extend the deepest appreciation and thanks for that service.
His Excellency Charles Savre was first elected as President of Dominica in 2013 and was re-elected for a second term in 2018. The Dominica National Emblems Committee, in collaboration with the Government of Dominica through the Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, have launched the revised 2nd edition of the Symbols of Nationhood booklet on September 29, 2023 at the State House Conference Center. This initiative is in an effort to draw attention, build greater appreciation for national emblems and their meanings. Minister for Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, Honorable Greta Roberts, says this is a significant step towards cultural preservation in Dominica.
I am indeed proud to participate in what I believe is a significant event, the launch of the revised version of the Symbols of Nationhood, which was first published in 1988. I say significant because this small but valuable booklet is another meaningful step towards the preservation of our culture and heritage. National symbols are not meant to be merely drawings on paper or depictions of an idea or concept. They are in fact powerful symbols of nationhood, intended to ground the people in the knowledge of their values, heritage, and history. They serve as a springboard for nation building by inculcating from the earliest ages a deep sense of patriotism and pride, just being Dominican.
Minister Roberts says the booklet will provide a valuable resource in the education system.
Within the education system, it will prove especially useful to provide our students and youth with a greater understanding and appreciation of the significance of our national symbols and the protocols which surround the use and application of these emblems. Because our emblems symbolize who we are as a people, it is essential that we continue to educate and sensitize the public through the media, in our classrooms, and through various platforms on the relevance and true meaning of our national emblems, and to inculcate, especially into our younger generation, a culture of patriotism and nationalism.
Meanwhile, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, Mr. Lucien Blackmore, gave an overview of the contents of the booklet.
The symbol of nationhood booklet contains the sovereign marks and representation of the Democratic Republic of the Commonwealth of Dominica, namely in the form of the coat of arms, the national flag, the national anthem, which, by the way, we affectionately call Isle of Beauty, the national flower, the national bird, our national pledge, and of course, the President ensign, national dish, and our national prayer.
The first edition of the Symbols of Nationhood publication was created in 1988 by the National Emblems Committee for Union Year, 10 years after Dominica gained its independence. You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. Dominica and China's relations continue to grow as China celebrates its 74th anniversary of its founding of the People's Republic of China. This as an official celebration was held on Thursday, September 28 at the Chinese Embassy. The ceremony was attended by President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles A. Savre, incoming President Mrs. Silvani Burton, government and Chinese officials and other members of cabinet. Ambassador to the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Ling Jiangjing, expressed his thanks to Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit and His Excellency Charles Savre for the warm hospitality and brotherhood he has received thus far.
I have been in Dominica for 2 years. I strongly felt the vitality of China-Dominica relations and hearty friendliness between our peoples. I wish to give special thanks to Honorable Prime Minister Skerrit, although he is out of state, for his invaluable support to the embassy and myself. He's an old friend of the Chinese people, as well as founder and promoter of our bilateral relations. It is with his caring support and persistent efforts that the China-Dominica community with a shared future is closely fostered, and our bond of brotherhood is increasingly solid and unshakable. My thanks also go to Your Excellency President Charles Savre for your commitment and dedication to bring our countries and people closer together. As your term is coming to an end on October the 1st, I wish you all the best on the next journey of your life.
Minister for Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, represented Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit.
As together we confront a new era of global challenges and opportunities, we look forward to further collaboration, be it in the realm of sustainable development, technology, education, or cultural exchanges. Ambassador, I reiterate on this occasion the appreciation of the government and people of Dominica for the keen interest which your country has shown in our social and economic affairs. You can be assured of a lasting and meaningful friendship with the government and people of the People's Republic of China. We value this association and shall continue to work to strengthen our relationship for the mutual benefit of our countries.
The People's Republic of China and the Commonwealth of Dominica formally established diplomatic relations in March 2004. The Ministry of National Security has placed in effect a gun amnesty in light of a recent increase in gun violence. The announcement was made on Thursday morning at a press conference. Minister for National Security and Legal Affairs, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, has condemned gun violence. He says one should respect life and should never settle disputes by taking a life.
Gun-related crimes, especially as it relates to the taking of human life, is the single most dangerous threat to our peace and security as a small nation state, and is therefore one of the biggest items on the agenda of the Ministry of National Security and Legal Affairs and your government of this beautiful country.
The Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force will work in collaboration with relevant law enforcement agencies to develop a holistic approach to curb this matter.
We do not manufacture firearms in Dominica. It is therefore important that we develop a mechanism which draws from the effort of all the law enforcement agencies to properly investigate the origin and all the elements and players involved in the illicit trafficking of illegal firearms, ammunition, and components to our beautiful country. In this regard, therefore, an investigative unit has been formed to investigate matters relating to the illicit trafficking of firearms, ammunition, and components into a beautiful country.
The investigative unit will comprise officers of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, officers from the Customs and Excise Division, and the Financial Investigation Unit. Government is also working closely with regional and international partners to develop its technical capacity to investigate and apprehend those responsible for trafficking illegal firearms into Dominica.
Your government has pledged to ensure the safety and security of all the citizens and residents of this beautiful country. In recent years, several attempts, therefore, have been made to improve the capabilities of the police through the provision of training and equipment.
As at September 27, 2023, Dominica has recorded 14 murders, of which 8 were committed with the use of illegal firearms. 7 of these 14 murders have already been solved. There were also 16 firearm-related robberies as at September 27, of which 8 have been solved. The Dominica Police Force has been engaged in an increased number of activities in light of the heightened gun violence.
There will be increased mobile and foot patrols in the city of Roseau and many out-district communities. This is a special operation where the police will also be out throughout the nights. This special operation will continue throughout the festive season up to the end of the year. This special operation may continue depending on the situation at the time. I have deployed an additional 10 police officers to Granby to help with the officers stationed there to bring a sense of normalcy in Granby. House searches for illegal firearms and ammunition. There will be vehicle checkpoints, and there will be joint operations on land and sea.
In April 2023, at a regional symposium on violence as a public health issue, the crime challenge in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit joined other CARICOM heads of government on plans to ban the use of assault weapons in civilian populations. The leaders also made an appeal to the United States for more forceful actions against weapon manufacturers and the flow of guns and ammunition into the Caribbean region. This stance will aid in curbing the costs associated with crime epidemic on the social, economic, and health systems of the country. The Climate Resilience Execution Agency for Dominica has launched the Safer Roads in Nature campaign. More in this report with Julian Morris.
The Climate Resilience Executing Agency of Dominica, as part of its gender-responsive and socially inclusive road safety awareness communication strategy, has launched the Nature Isle campaign. The campaign was launched in a partnership with the Caribbean Development Bank and UK Aid at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium on Wednesday, September 27. Chief Executive Officer of CREED, Ms. Francine Barron, described the campaign as very important as it touches on the safety of all road users, including pedestrians, drivers, and passengers. Over the last decade, Dominica has lost over 100 lives to vehicular accidents, with an average of 8 per year. She noted in the last 9 months, 14 people have died, which is an indication that the situation is getting worse.
The issue of road safety is not just a concern for us in Dominica, but it is a global issue. The statistics show that each year, approximately 1.3 million people are killed on roadways around the world. Globally, each day, 3,700 people are killed in crashes involving cars, buses, motorcycles, bicycles, trucks, and pedestrians. Lack of road safety in Latin America and the Caribbean results in nearly 130,000 deaths and 6 million injuries per year. In Dominica, 102 people died during the decade 2011 to 2021, with an average annual rate of 8 deaths per year. And while that figure might not sound like a lot, for a small country like Dominica, 101 deaths is very significant. We have now had approximately 14 road fatalities in the past 9 months. So that is an indication that the problem is in fact getting worse.
She says the launching of this campaign is significant as Dominica moves toward having a safer road network.
When this afternoon marks a significant moment in our journey towards safer roads and a stronger, more resilient road network in Dominica. Over the last several years, the government has made a deliberate effort to improve the road network and enhance the quality of the roads in this country. The nature of our terrain makes it much more difficult and costly to build resilient roads. And the frequency of extreme weather events have compromised our road infrastructure on many occasions. Despite this, I think we can all agree that many of our primary roads are in fairly good condition, and others are being worked on and improved even as we speak.
Superintendent of Police Belgrove Charles says the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force is committed to working with CREED on this campaign.
The Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force prides itself as a solid partner with CREED, working on the awareness strategy to ensure road safety. And prior to that, CREED came in about with this program. We were already doing that type of work, trying to make the public aware of road safety acts.
Minister for Public Works, Public Utilities and the Digital Economy says the number of vehicular deaths recorded this year is a sign that more caution should be exercised by all road users.
Very often, persons say the minister likes numbers, but let's just put this in perspective. For the entire year, 12 months, 2022, we had 12 victims. We are in 2023, only 9 months, and we have already surpassed 2022 and have a total of 14 victims. So this is cause for concern, not just for CREED, for the government as well, and the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force. But most importantly, I believe as drivers and users of the road, it's a sign that we now need to exercise more caution than before. Let us pause today to think about the many breadwinners, daughters, sons, mothers, fathers, and cousins, lives that have been cut short. Whether it be because they ignored the safety measures, the signs, drove drunk, or speed to their death, and that of others.
And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I am Octavia Prosper. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.